What if the moon was made of cheese? This question comes from, well, pretty much every cartoon from the early 2000s. But let's take it seriously. What would happen if the moon was made entirely of cheese? First of all, let's assume it's not just cheese flavored. It's not painted to look like cheddar. Number, it's 100% cheese, like solid dairy. We'll say it's a dense cheese, maybe something like Parmesan, because if it were something soft like brie, it would collapse under its own weight before we could even ask NASA to send a cracker. Right now, the moon weighs about 7.35 times 10 to the 22nd kilograms. That's 73 sextillion kilograms. And that's with rock, which is on average more than twice as dense as cheese. So if we swapped it for dairy, the moon's mass would decrease drastically. In fact, it would be about 40% of its current mass. That means gravity on the moon would be even weaker, barely enough to hold on to astronauts, let alone a dusting of shredded Gouda. But gravity isn't just for astronauts. The moon's gravitational pull affects Earth too. Most famously, it's the reason we have tides. So, with a cheese moon, Earth's tides would shrink a lot. The difference between high tide and low tide would be so tiny, surfers would have to switch hobbies. No more dramatic waves crashing on cliffs, just gently disappointed seagulls staring at puddles. And it doesn't stop there. The moon also helps stabilize Earth's axial tilt. Without it, our planet could wobble more violently over time, like a spinning top that's about to fall over. This could make our seasons chaotic, with the potential for ice ages in July and heat waves in December, all thanks to our dairy-based lunar neighbor. So, the moon being made of cheese doesn't just change astronomy, it messes with the climate, ocean life, and maybe your summer vacation plans. Now, let's talk logistics. How did the moon become cheese in the first place? Magic? A cosmic prank by space cows? Whatever the reason, let's imagine humans discover it tomorrow. Suddenly, the moon becomes the most delicious object in the sky. And you know what that means? Cheese mining. Nations would rush to launch dairy extraction missions. Lunar Gouda farms, brie harvesters, orbiting raclette satellites. SpaceX would get into fondue delivery. Astronauts would bring back moon cheese samples, not for science, but for charcuterie boards. But cheese spoils. That's right. One major issue with the moon being made of cheese is that cheese is, unfortunately, food. And food doesn't like sitting out in space. Even if we pretend that the moon is safely refrigerated by the vacuum of space, which, to be fair, is pretty cold, cosmic radiation and micrometeorites would slowly degrade the surface. Over time, the moon would get moldy, not a little moldy, not blue cheese moldy. We're talking abandoned fridge behind a gas station, moldy. At some point, the entire visible moon would turn green and fuzzy. The night sky would look like someone left a meatball sub on the telescope lens. And then there's the smell. Now, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, but let's say you're standing near it, maybe on a lunar orbit station, and you open a window. You might die instantly due to decompression, yes. But let's say you survive just long enough to get a whiff, the smell of moldy cosmic camembert, fermented by solar wind and ancient bacteria. It would be the worst smell in the solar system. Saturn's moon titan would send complaints. And here's where it gets weird. Let's say people get addicted. Cheese is already pretty addictive, thanks to certain compounds that hit the same pleasure centers as hard drugs. Now, imagine moon cheese, rare, aged in zero gravity, infused with cosmic background radiation. Some chef in Brooklyn would charge $500 a slice. The rich would demand more. We'd get secret missions, cheese smugglers, underground raclette markets, black market dairy from the stars. Of course, eventually we'd try to eat all of it. Humans are like that. We find something rare and edible and think, let's eat the entire celestial body. But remember what we said earlier, the moon stabilizes our orbit and creates tides. So if we eat too much of it, say down to a cute little cheese nugget, the consequences on Earth could be catastrophic. You'd wake up one day with your compass pointing west and the ocean in your basement. At some point, scientists would have to step in. Stop eating the moon, they'd beg. We need it to prevent apocalypse. And someone at a dinner party would say, but have you tried the truffle-infused part? And the cycle would continue. Eventually, a global treaty would be signed. The moon would be declared a protected dairy reserve. Only a limited number of cheese samples could be harvested each year. A new branch of the UN, UNCDC, United Nations Cheese Defense Council, would monitor activity. Astronauts would become cheese keepers, and humanity would learn a valuable lesson. Sometimes, just because you can eat the moon doesn't mean you should. So, what if the moon was made of cheese? Tides would vanish, the planet would wobble, billionaires would fight over moldy brie, and your great-grandchildren might never see a full moon, just a bite-sized cratered cube hanging above a climate-ravaged Earth. But the crackers would be legendary.